Hey, it's Don, the Auction Professor. Today is Sunday, so again, it's time for another What Sold on eBay today. We're just going to pick a random selection. Again, Christmas just happened, so there are possibly some holiday items that I'm going to throw in here for us today. But for the most part, most of the holiday items have already sold prior to Christmas, because again, people want to get these in before Christmas. But we're going to go over to the screen and we're going to show you some of the items we sold on the store we share with you. Okay, so the first item this week, again, I'm just picking some random items. I'm trying not to show you the same item, same type of items anyway all the time. This is a real photo. I picked up a huge stack of these not too long ago. I really like the images, so I've pretty much centered in on the main part of the image, which is the train coming around, the location marker, the bridge. It also has the actual location written down near Fort Snelling, so someone would be able to figure out which train this is and where this was taken just by the information shown on the image. It sold for $16.25. I had it up for $19.99, so I was fine with that. You know, it's like a $10 image probably, I guess. That would be about my guess on it. Here's an oddball postcard. This one someone put an offer in, and before I could even accept the offer, they just went and bought it. It was up for a while. I did sell it for $17.50. This is a quarter card, and it might even still say on the back, but I don't think so. No, most of the time I do erase the prices if there's prices on the back. This was out of some cheapo bin at an antique mall. I personally remember getting this card, so these weird ones like this always seem to sell, especially when it's like an ascending order of height, the same animal like a dog or an anthropomorphic flower or something along that line. These always seem to sell for us. It may sit for a little while, like this one was 9 months, but again, it's a quarter. 9 months, even at 5 cents, is 45 cents, so I have less than $1 into it. Minus the fees, I still made almost 15 bucks profit on this card. That's part of Longtail. If you're in my Patreon group, I literally did a video just breaking down the entire step and process of one of our purchases down through, you know, a 6-month time frame to show you how Longtail works and what to expect. And it's an honest representation of what you should expect from something like this. I get feedback that other people experience the same things that I talk about, so I know that this is how, you know, Longtail works for us and for most people that do it on the same basis as we do. Next item here. Now, the photo should have been darkened up. Again, I don't list everything. We do make mistakes. I will take the blame for this one because I didn't see it before it was posted. But either way, it did sell. The items are much nicer than they look just because it's so bright. Sometimes it happens, you know, you mess up. Who knows who listed it? It doesn't even matter. It's just, it happened, but it's sold. So we've got $22.50, the asking price out of this one. These are McLaughlin's Coffee, and I'm not really even sure which characters they are, just some random characters. Little Boy Blue, I don't know if I remember where the, let me see, it probably says in the back. No, it doesn't. I'm not sure what they're to. Then there's many different ones of these. This is just probably some random toy. 2 of the same ones on top of it. I picked up hundreds of paper dolls at a doll collector's estate sale. So most everybody bought the dolls. I bought, you know, what was left that I could, you know, make some money on. And then most all of the paper dolls I was able to get for almost nothing, as everybody walked by them thinking nothing of them because of how they looked. So anyway, I get the blues when it rains. This is a small orchestra. It's basically a book with all the key instruments, the sheet music for this one specific song. I think we got 15 out of this one here, so I was very happy with that. This is 50 cents or less on these type of sheet music, so if there's nothing on it, I usually don't buy it unless it's like a packet like this. There's like 20 or 30 pages in this for every aspect of the song and every instrument, so anybody could play this if they had that many band members, of course. Here we go. Here's another label. This one I took 20 on. Kenville Arena, Kenville, New Jersey. Again, I sell these constantly. Couple a week, every single week, or more. Some weeks I sell 10 or 15. I just acquired around 130 of these from a purchase that I made. It was out of my state, but it was still well worth the effort. So anyway, this one's sold because of Corey Feldman is in this one. I believe he's the kid down there on the bottom left, if I'm not mistaken. It's the Bad News Bears. Now, this is the TV series. There was movies as well, too. I believe 2 or 3. I remember seeing them in the early 70s when the movie first came out. It was a big hit. I took 10 on this. Again, I have no idea what they're actually worth. It's what somebody's going to pay for them. It's been up a little while. I've got really nothing into it because I bought a huge lot of these and I sold a ton of them. We've made $5 or $6 grand on just the movie and TV related stills that we bought like a year ago. And we still sell them daily, sometimes at least weekly for the most part, just like the military ones that you see in my videos. This is a crossover card. This has many categories or niches it could sell in. It could sell in thread collectors, J&P Coats collectors, calendar collectors, trade card collectors, and then owl collectors or bird collectors. These are all categories. That's 4 I named for this one specific card. All legit categories, all legit things that you could use to market and sell this. I could put this in the bird section in collectibles if I wasn't getting any ground in the trade card section. I could put it in the sewing, even in the antique section, because there is a sewing section in antiques, or the collectibles sewing section. You know, calendar section it could have went in. So there's many areas to put something like this in. I did get $34.50 out of it. It's an early one, 1889. The calendar cards do sell better. I always put that in the title as well. Let's see here. Next one. Here is a Fletcher Henderson. Now, this is a reissue. This is a collector series. This is a copy, basically, issued in like the 40s from the 1931 release by Brunswick as well. Fletcher Henderson wrote a ton of really killer classics that you people hear all the time. It also has Coleman Hawkins, which you should know if you're into this type of music, and Benny Morton. Walter Johnson is as well, but again, key players in this group of his here are the Coleman Hawkins and Benny Morton. Look those up. Rex Stewart's well known, Russell Smith. Most of the names in here are people that are known by most people are into this. You don't have to know everything, but Fletcher Henderson is a name you should honestly know. You should be able to tell the difference between the original Brunswick 1931 pressing and this one. It has collector's series as well. It's not always going to have collector's series because there's many different label versions of this exact same record, 3, 4 maybe in that aspect of it, from different eras. The 31's the best, of course. This is the second best because this is the second pressing basically on a different label of the same performances, just blues. And that's what sold this one here. $37.50. Now here's a poster stamp for a express mail company. It's like a mail slip that would have been stamped on it and it would have been billed to at the bottom. They would have put a company on there. This is unused. But this is a real good one. This one borders on Cinderella's, which if you're not familiar with the Cinderella, it's a postage stamp that's technically not really a postage stamp. It's been printed by some other source other than the government. It cannot be used for legal tender with the post office or the government, but this one would have been only accepted and used by the company that issued it, the United States Express Company. Let's see, this one, 25 on this one here. It was up for a little while. 25, I'm fine. I picked up a ton of these for almost nothing. I have pennies into a bunch of these. This one I went back and forth. This one actually went to the museum in Camp Forest area. There's a museum there, so apparently somewhere. The gentleman who bought it stated that's where it's going to go. We went back and forth on the price. I think I settled on 30. Yeah, 30 on this one here, which I'm okay with. No idea on, what it's really worth. It's a scarce image either way. It does not show up very often. You can see that it's marked actually in the plate. Prior to it being printed, someone scratched in the name of where it was. This is a real photo postcard, real picture postcard. It's a Klein as well, which is a well-known printer or photographer back in that day. Here is Oscar Wilde. Now, Oscar Wilde stuff always sells. The aesthetic movement. Look that up if you're unaware. You'll see me showing Oscar Wilde items quite often, or aesthetic in general. A lot of these movements and stylized areas like Art Deco or Art Nouveau, I always get into. Greek Revival, even the Egyptian Revival era. Any of that stuff is good. This is a perfect example of the era of Oscar Wilde. This is supposed to be Oscar Wilde. It doesn't say that in most of these, but you can very well tell if you know anything about Oscar Wilde. He was flamboyant to some extent. He was a poet. Look it up. The aesthetics movement is a specific thing. It's a movement. There is hats that are called the aesthetic, which we have had and sold cards as well. Mild-mannered person, very well received across the board. Here's a hand-tinted one. This is another, I would say, bad example. We've changed it. This one is up for a little while. Nowadays, we scan all of these cards. It's a California one, so either way. Had I had a scan in it, it might have sold a little quicker for a little more. I believe we took like $13 on this one here, which is fine. Again, these are 50-cent cards for most part. This one I put up for $150. Again, I go by what's been sold in this category. I compare prices across many sites. I have videos up from earlier this year that actually cover those sites as well. I show you the process, how to research and look up these. This is actually a promotional copy. Wouldn't have been for sale. It would have been given to a radio station. Less of these available than the stock copies, which would have been the ones you would have received or bought in a store. This is Jackie Dallas. It's a rockabilly classic. You Told Me and Lorraine are the two on this one here. I took $100 on it. I'm fine with that. It's VG. If the condition was VG plus, the $150 would have been a legit price. You just have to play it by ear on some of these. This is the only one that's sold in the last 90 days of this one, as far as I can remember. So sometimes you won't have anything to compare them to. So I do revert back to other sites, as I said, if I can't find them on other sites, which I have about 7 sites that I can use to research prices. I haven't shared them all with everybody. And I also have people I can email. And then there's Osborne's book, which I use to look it up if you're interested. I have one just on price guides in my on my videos as well, where I'll show you some of the price guides and how to look this up from other sources. But anyway, $100 on that one. These are just some die cuts. I had a bunch of these. Some of these were in sheet form when I first got them. Again, I don't mind cutting them apart, separating them. You can see the same cat there several times. One's damaged, one's not. But these would have been in sheets, and it would have been repeating characters. I'll mix and match these up any day of the week. Doesn't matter. This kind of stuff sells for us. I got $31. The person who bought it is from overseas, so they spent $14.50 as well to send this to their country. I believe it was France. So I was very happy with this. Again, I make so much more money if I split those sheets up. Now this is A.R.H. Feldler's. It's a German establishment. He was a apothecary, which is a pharmacist, if you didn't know. The person who bought this is actually the great-great-grandson of this person. He was ecstatic to get it. He was ecstatic to see it up. So I have more from the same seller, so this Feldler. So I'm going to dig those out and put them up. On these smaller cards and things like this, I just put one up and see what happens. 9 out of 10 times it's sold to somebody from the family or a city historical collector. Sometimes it goes to museums, sometimes it goes to a college or a university as well. That's the majority of my items go to one of those groups that I just stated. So, and I get routine repeat business. I'm up to 18% now at this point of return customers. So 18 out of 100 of my customers have bought from me before or are buying multiple items at the same time. 18%. That's a pretty high number. I would challenge most people to get one that high. A couple percent's usually what I hear, if that's even lucky. If you're not aware, you can actually track that in your seller's hub because it is a key important factor. I've stressed it before. I've explained ways to get that recouped business. You're going to do much better if you're selling vintage items if you sell to specifically routine collectors who will constantly come back and buy from you. But you got to have niches to do that. You can't just be selling clothing or something. Clothing or books are random one-offs. Almost every time they're random one-offs because most people can't get the same type of items, the same size, the same style that someone's going to want. But if it's a collectible item like action figures or comic books, people are going to keep coming back if you keep getting comic books. It's just a fact. They're going to like your business. They're going to recommend you to their friends. You know, there's even a commercial from back in the day. They'll tell their friends, and they'll tell their friends, and they'll tell their friends. You know, it works that way in real life, believe it or not. You know, people recommend somebody, just like records. I sell records to the same people all the time. That's why 18% of my sales right this minute are repeat customers. So just keep that in mind. That's a key factor to increasing your sales, being able to push through these repeat customers. One-offs are great, but one-offs will only take you so far. Get some stuff that is routine for you. They'll always want to come back to look at your stuff because you always put new items up in that same category. That's the key. It sold $15, this one here, straight off. This is a nice graphical religious card. Just a spectacular one. It's Marcus Ward. It does have some damage, some issues. Showed up with some postcards. It's basically about the size of a postcard. Typical. Many people will look at the front and don't even flip these over when they're sorting them with the postcards and just assume it's a postcard. Since it's religious and flowery, it's not worth much to them, so they just pass it on without looking. But Marcus Ward items sell. I knew it was early the minute I saw it. $14.50 as well, straight off my asking price. This one I took 20 on. Again, I throw out some prices out there. Wes Osman is a well-known performer, but basically just banjo. He played in some groups as well, too. Turkey in the Straw is an early song. It's been around since the 1800s, somewhere in the late 1800s. This is a medley version of it, so it's playing it in different tones and such forth. Old Lang Syne is on the back. $20 was fine. It's not in the best condition, label-wise. The record itself, though, was an E-, meaning that there's not a mark on the disc grooves. It looks almost like new. I did not clean the label on these, so I don't put these in my record washer. Just FYI, the cleaners discs do not go in the record washer when they have labels like this, because you can damage the label. I'm very cautious on destroying a label. If someone else wants to do it after they get it, that's fine. I clean the tracks. I know the tracks are great. Now, this time of year I've talked about religious items sell more this time of year during Christmas. For whatever reason, that's what they seem to sell. I sold a mess of jewelry, religious jewelry, rosaries and things along that line. And this one sold fairly well. I took $20 on it. It's been up for a little while. $10-15 is about what these go for, honestly. Look it up yourself. Check out the comps. I waited for a higher price. I'd rather take a little longer to sell something and to get a much higher price than most people, double what you or somebody else might get for it, because then I have to sell less to get the same amount as other people who work more. So it's a longevity game here, as I said. And this, again, I have a Patreon group. I discuss that aspect of our business and exclusiveness with actual monetary values and things tied to this. So anyway, $20 on this one. Here's just another example. This one did go for $25.88. They put an offer in. Before I could get back, they just bought it. And that happens sometimes. I'm not worried about it like that. So, that's just 2 rosaries. I paid $1 or less for these. In some cases, you can get these free at some church sales, but I usually at least offer them $1 a piece. If they don't take it, they don't take it. But I always offer them something, even if it's a free item. Even when they give away the Bibles, and I see free Bibles everywhere these days, I will not take it for free. I will always offer a donation to it. I feel better about it. I'm not trying to, milk money off of someone's religious beliefs and such forth. So I always offer something. You do what you want to do, but, I feel better by doing it that way. It goes to a good cause. So anyway, $25.88. Joe Wheeler here. Ford has made a lady out of my Lizzie. Now, it's Tin Lizzie. It's making a comical joke on it. It's a comical song, basically. There's a lot of them like Lizzie. You'll see Tin Lizzie and things along that line. Ford, of course, I don't have to go into much detail on that. Henry Ford actually has his own records, believe it or not. He recreated or had a band, and Henry Ford literally collected these groups and played old-timey music, and he recorded them at his car factory, from what I understand, or a building at the factory itself. So anyway, this one did go for, I believe it did go for $30 on this one here. But anyway, it's a good one. Joe Wheeler's fairly well known in this era. Now, these records, this one here is circa World War I through like the early 20s. Maybe a little earlier, like 1915, but I really think it's like 1918 through the early 20s. That's about what I would date this at. Maybe even into the late 20s, but no newer than that. The labels change at certain points, so you can usually tell. Some of the books that I have and I've talked about actually have examples of the labels, and that's why I've bought some books, only because they have the photo examples of the labels. I may go over this in another video for those who are interested, if I get enough feedback. If you have interest in that or interest in some of the items that I'm showing, please, underneath this video, add some comments on items you would like to see in future videos. I keep track of all of that. I read every single comment on every single video that I've ever placed, and I use that for information, trying to lead me in the better direction to produce more material for those of you, and more enjoyable material anyway. So, another postcard, $14.50, California. This one, let's see here. Yeah, this one's kind of interesting. It's got a unique faux border to it. I think that was why I dove on this one. I don't think I paid more than $1 for this. Maybe not even that. Yeah, I think this one came in a lot. Now, sometimes on this one here, there might be a famous signature on here. We tried for a long time to figure this one out. we just couldn't do it, so I just popped it up. I could hold on to things forever sometimes if you really wanted to, but I was listing a bunch of California cards, so this one just went up $14.50. Another postcard, $10 on this one here. It wasn't up for too long, but I knew it wasn't going to go for a lot. This city in general, Watersmeet, is just not some big, huge, horrendous city. There's not a lot of collectors out there. This is going to somebody who's bought many cards from me before, so $10 I'm fine with. I've got 50 cents or so into this, as well as a bunch from the Michigan area. Real photo postcard, real picture postcard. There's no bearing really on the subject matter. It's a scarce card, but again, there's not many collectors, so again, $10. Now, this is pretty neat. I liked these. These were optical. They reflected and did rainbow lighting all over. They're like lucite squares almost. They're lucite sheets that have been molded together. Very interesting. And then they were metallicized to some extent with this semi-transparent mirrored imagery, multiple different colors. So as you turned it, they sparkled in different colors. As you can see, it's more brownish, yellowish, and then it turns greens and blues. It's marked West Germany. They're psychedelic. They've got prisms in them. It's really unique. I think we got 30 bucks out of those. National Geographic. I sold a bunch this week. Why, I don't know how suddenly, but $11.99 on this one here. I bought them dirt cheap. I can get a lot of National Geographics pretty cheap, but I would never invest the money in anything newer than, say, $48, $49. Always get the earlier ones. World War II are the ones you want. World War II seems to be the ones I sell religiously, constantly, all the time for decent money, especially with what I got into them. I got, pennies into these. Actually, these were all paid for, but originally when I bought them, I have a few cents into each one. I bought a couple hundred of these, all World War II to like 48, 49. The Bride of Frankenstein. This is a pretty good one here. Fairly happy on this one here. So I took 45 on it. I had many offers on this one before I settled on that. I've got a couple of some of these too, so you may see some other ones of these sell in the near future too. I'll buy them in bulk, and you saw some of the bulk that I had, so that's just the way I do things on stuff like this. So. Now here's another one. This sold because it has lawn tennis in it. I got 25 out of this. Anything with like lawn tennis in it does sell fairly well. So 25 bucks I was very fine with. But that's what I have for you today. Well, there you go. There's another mix of items that we sold. Hopefully that'll give you some thoughts, some ideas, some other avenues to look for. We do very well on the items we show you, so I try to stick to the ones that are our key bread and butter. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified when we post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell a friend.